JD, you mentioned the big difference from the Colts and Buccaneers game was not only the play of Mahomes, but the offensive line play and how, they were road grading. And not only was it just a good defense, this is everyone by a large portion. This is the best defense in the NFL. I think that going into that game, they were ranked number ones in points as far as defense. I think they only averaged 9 points going into that game as far as the opposing team scoring on them, which is crazy. But our offensive line dominated. So the question is, with the Raiders coming to town, do you worry that this offensive line kind of plays up and down to competition? I mean, why can't we see this consistent? Because I guess the big question is I've seen from people online is the consistency of play. That play we had against the Buccaneers, where was that against the Colts? Or, I mean, and then are we going to play down to the competition when we go against the Vegas Raiders? Because, the 1-3, they don't look that good. I mean, why can't we see this every week? I mean, what is that?
I think there's a couple of reasons, actually, to be honest with you. I think part of why we might have struggled against Indy was, I think Chris he's laboring a little bit. I think he's hurt. I think he hurt his knee, but you could tell the difference in like his blocking style and what he's doing right now is not as Chris. I think offensive line, I think, we talked about who's that guy that's in the Met, Becker or whatever his name, it was in the
Buckner.
Buckner?
Of course, Buckner.
Full grown man from Indy, full grown in the middle. And I don't think they was ready for that. And so I think they might have just had a little bit more hunger for the game, right? Because they was thinking they was playing down, or, they're not looking at us. They might have been thinking that. And so how do you get your name out there is you go against and perform against a great offensive line or whoever the other person may be, if you will. But I think they had to get back on track. I think Thuney, Creed, Trey, Wiley, OBJ, all these guys just really had to reassess who they want to be. And I think that's the key. You got to know who you want to be, who you say you're going to be in games. And especially right now, this is a staple game when they played against Tampa Bay. They made it be known. It's the same thing like when we were playing. Those guys up front, they made no mistake about it, no bones about it. Like, we're going to be the best in this stadium and the best offensive line in the NFL. And each week, when you're looking at them right there in their eyes, in the line, in the huddle, you could tell. You knew they was going to kick tail. There wasn't no question about it. You didn't think Brown was going to have a bad game or Will Shields. And no, them guys came out to do business. It was all business with them. And so I think that's what these guys kind of stepped up to, was saying, look, we got young guys on the team, but they're good guys. We got some really talented guys on the offensive line. And they showed it. And I think it was important for them to sit there and say, we are the real deal. And so I think that's what it is. I don't think when you're going against this time, because they got some two guys in Chandler Jones and Max Crosby on the other side who's coming here just going to be doing some work. And so they can't sit back on their laurels and rest on this because they beat Tampa Bay, those guys. They got two guys on the outside that's going to come here with some force who's trying to kill Pat. And so what you got to know is the offensive line coach and then all those guys like, listen, I do not want this guy to get hit. We need to protect this guy at all costs. I don't care what we need to do. Bite, scratch, crawl, whatever we need to do to get this job done. And so, with Raiders, we know this is a challenge. Anytime you have a divisional opponent, you're always going to have that challenge. It's always going to be a tough week, man. I don't care what team we play. I don't care if they have a losing record. They could be 1-15. Them suckers are coming in the Arrowhead and they're coming to play. Every time you play against the Chiefs, divisional opponent, you always got to be ready for that game.
Yeah, absolutely. With regards to, as far as, the way they were against, and that's, I think that's sometimes human instinct or natural for, let's just say we were 2-0 and we go to Indy and we're not necessarily riding high, but we're like, you know what? Indy's, what are they, 0-1, I think, because they had a tie ball game at the beginning.
Yeah, that's right.
And then they had not really played good ball at that point. So Kansas City's pretty much probably thinking, hey, they're going to not necessarily lay down, because it's funny with, any given Sunday, that's a real thing, because, you talk about whether it be the Raiders, but look at the Detroit Lions when they were 0-6. I can promise you, whoever played in Week 16 weren't going to lay down, because they knew they were coming for them. Because at the end of the day, those guys, those got 53 guys or whatever at the time, those guys are not only performing for the Detroit Lions, they're trying to put on tape because the next year they might be a free agent. So those guys at the day, you're playing for a team, but you're also playing for 31 other teams. But to touch back on as far as maybe it was Kansas City's fault of overlooking Indianapolis and saying, hey, we're playing good ball. We should go out here. We should execute. And guess what? Things didn't go as well. And, essentially Indianapolis hit them in the mouth. And, here they were 2-1 this week, obviously last week against Tampa Bay. They pretty much said, hey, we've got to come down there and show them exactly what we're going to be and make a statement as an offensive line. And then they were able to do that and all around in all aspects of the game. But then now, when it comes to Raiders week or any time, like you said, you play a divisional opponent, you can take those records and throw them out the window. I can promise you.
You're right.
Because at the end of the day, it don't matter if they're 1-3 or 4-0. At the end of the day, you're going to get everybody's best each week. And being that it's Raider week, or being that it's the Raiders and that's a divisional rival, it has been for a long time.
Yeah.
I can promise you Kansas City is going to get everything they want, and I think they'll be prepared for them.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get podcasts.